time.
Okay, we're just jumping in it.
Yeah.
2 feet.
That's how
Both
you
of
do
them
it.
left.
Both of them.
Both of them left. Oh, don't get me getting the giggles.
Yeah, because then I'm going to start coughing too.
Exactly.
Remember, got to go on mute. Go on mute.
Keep it professional, boys. Keep it professional.
Exactly. I'll keep my clothes on. You keep yours on.
Hey, there we go. All right, here we go. Y'all ready?
Let's do it. Yeah.
We're ready. Ready.
Welcome to Creative Makers Podcast, episode 81. And today we got a special guest here, back again. He didn't have enough of us last time. We got Mr. BJ Harrison from Byroms Custom Woodworks. How you doing, bud?
Oh, man, I'm wonderful. Thank y'all for having me again.
And we're not going to interview him this time. This time he's just gonna take part. We don't want to hear anything else from this guy again.
That was your worst uploaded podcast ever, right?
Yeah. In fact, he's paying us to bring him on here. If y'all didn't know.
Matt, the hat is in the mail.
There it is. But today we're going to talk about workshop fails, and I know we all have them. Oh, we've had some doozies. And then later on down into the podcast, we're going to give a little something away. So
there we go.
Best if you stay in the chat and stay along and listen in as we give y'all how we've messed up. Who wants to start it off first?
Who messes up? You don't ever see my mess ups. I mean, come on.
Oh, only you, but okay.
I've never had a shop failure.
Never. Nope.
Never?
Not that I'll admit on camera, but no. So I'll start it out.
Okay, there we go.
With a simple, not a simple one, but yeah, as a kind of an epic fail. As most of y'all know, I make the brass cast skulls, and I got an order from a local barbershop to make some custom skulls with the barbershop logo in it, embedded it with a straight single edge razor or something in it. And so it was a multi-layer pour to get all this stuff done. Well, at the same time, I got a pinched nerve in my shoulder, which was affecting the grip in my right hand. So I was at I had lost 80 to 90% of my grip strength in my right hand. And the skull's full of, I get all these, get the last pour done. Each skull is custom colored, picked by each barber, all this stuff. Get them going to pick them up, transport them over to my pressure pot. And I get them right above the pressure pot, and my hand just went, just let go.
Oh, no.
And I spilled, I think with everything in there, it was, 10 or 15 ounces of epoxy all over my pressure pot, mixed all the colors. It's all over me. It's all over the workbench. I had other projects sitting on the workbench that I was getting ready to put on top of these skulls or in the other pressure pot. And when it spilled all over the pressure pot, it got all over the threads on it.
Oh,
so no. I went into absolute freak out mode, trying to clean everything off, get it cleaned up, and got the colors redone, got everything right. And it was good enough to where you couldn't really tell. Get them all in there. I'm thinking, and I went through, 4 rolls of the blue shop towels, the shop paper towels, trying to clean up, get every ounce of epoxy off of everything. Close the pressure pots, get them pressurized, walked in the house, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to bed. I'll check it in a couple days. I ended up having to break out a blowtorch and one of the biggest crescent wrench I own to get the pressure pot open. the
my gosh.
wing nuts had glued themselves to the thread.
Oh no!
And then I get finally, after getting the wing nuts off, the lid was epoxy down on the pressure pot. So took a hammer, beat it off, finally beat the lid off,
Yeah. Okay.
And yeah. Get it in. The trays that I stacked the skulls on, they're glued together, glued to the bottom of the pressure pot. Oh, it was, but the skulls came out beautiful. At the end of the day, the skulls came out absolutely beautiful. But yeah, it took forever. I ended up disassembling the pressure pot, getting all the wing nuts and the threaded broads and everything, soaked them in, I think, acetone for like a week, and they still don't work. I still have to get a wrench on them to close them. But yeah, that was a pretty epic fail. It was, yeah.
Oh.
So lesson learned, when you're having grip strength issues and you're doing something tedious, just get help or don't do it.
So it's not really a failure; it's a learning experience where you have
Don't
understand
be an
that-
idiot.
don't do this part. Got it.
Yeah.
So I'll tell you one of my experiences with epoxy, and I know Wackerle has one too, and he knows all about getting epoxy on threads. And I'll let him tell that story. I don't want to tell it for him. But I was doing an inlay on a bench top I was making, and one of the instigators is actually in the chat right now. That I should never have listened to him. Should have never listened to him. But
Mr. JP,
yeah, JP, the other half of Saturday Morning Cartoons, and we were in a private hangout, and I had that top on the CNC. I just got done V-carving it, right? And it was midsummer down here, probably with ambient temp was probably, well, when I used the thermometer gun, it was at 105 degrees. That's what it was outside in the shop.
Oh.
And I was like, Jake was supposed to come on that private call, but he was busy and it was taking him a little while. And I was like, I wonder how this is going to work, JP. He said, oh, you'll be fine. You'll be fine. I said, you sure? And I said, when we're doing this stuff, you watch Jake, he pours at 105 and then he's in a hurry trying to get it on. And I was using Lumalite. It was the stuff that it's not clear slow. It's the other one that you have a long working time. Yeah, about 30-minute working time. If you're at 70 degrees, right? Mind you, we're at 105.
And you said 105 inside your shop.
Inside.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It doesn't have to be that way, but yes, it is in his shop that way. And any stores it in his shop.
So I got everything mixed, everything partitioned off A and B. Got my eye candy pigments ready, right? And got all the colors, everything's ready. And I pour this stuff. And I start mixing, and that stuff immediately gets pretty warm as to where the reaction starts. It went
exothermic.
It went exothermic. Like, I'm like, holy crap, this thing getting hot and it's smoking, right? So I take off pouring. I'm like, I get it in there. This stuff starts getting so hot, it is freaking smoking, and it starts messing with the glue joints on the wood, and wood starts to separate. So I'm in a mad rush, grabbing clamps and clamping that stuff back together so it doesn't split apart on me. This fool, JP, is sitting there laughing. He's like, hey, mate, and by this time I had a crowd, right? And I'm freaking pissed, because I knew better. I shouldn't have done it. Yeah. But this is the first time they tell you how much working time you have or the max you want to pour stuff on. I took it past that limit. So when I tell you that you could go past that, I'm telling you, it started to basically shrink the cup that it was in, that solo cup. This stuff was just smoking. It was like a fire in there. And luckily I saved it, and there was some cracks in it, but it's mine. I don't care. But don't ever pour when it's 105 degrees ambient temperature.
Whoa.
It's not a good
here's
idea.
Question. I'll ask this: Did you check the temperature of the epoxy when it was going exothermic to see what it hit? Because I can tell you what it probably hit because I've done that.
135.
What do you think? What do you think it hit?
The time I did it, it hit 350.
Wow. I think it got up to 370, I believe. Yeah. Somewhere in there. It was hot.
JP, that's hilarious. Oh, JP.
Yeah. I took the cup and set it on the concrete. This crap was smoking, dude. I was freaking out. Yep. I was like, dude, I want to say it got hot, like super freaking hot.
The time I did it, I took a picture of the laser thermometer and posted it on Instagram and tagged. I was using Total Boat at the time. Tagged them. They messaged me within minutes. Oh my God, what happened? It is something wrong with the resin. I wrote back and go, no, it's 100 degrees in my shop right now, and I poured 4 times more than I should have. And they go, oh, well, sorry about your bad luck. I'm just like, thanks, I appreciate it. Like, you're an idiot. Like,
the thing that freaked me out is when it started to separate those glue joints, when they started to let go.
Oh,
and I was like, oh, this ain't good. This is not good at all. So, and then we get done, and then Jake comes in right at the end, and I'm over here just like, I mean, I jumped out of the shower, just drenched. And he's like, what do you do? What's wrong? And I told him, and he said, well, that's dumb. And I'm like, well, yeah.
Thank you, Captain Obvious. Yeah. Oh, God. Oh.
But before we go on, I just want to mention those guys, Jamie and Jake, are doing a hell of a job. Saturday Morning Cartoons. They actually hit a full wish for Make-A-Wish this weekend, and I think it was a month. In a month, they've raised over $8,000. And they're going on the second wish. So
if you're not in there, you need to be watching it.
Yeah, go over there to northsidecustomcrafts.com and go and donate. There's a donate tab on Jake's webpage. Donate or go check out Saturday Morning Cartoons every Saturday, 10 a.m. Central. And y'all can get involved. They are auctioning off Jake's resin items that he makes during the show, and it's going for a good cause. So that's pretty amazing. In a month that they've been able to raise that amount of money, that just goes to show the people out there that are willing to do it. It's for a good cause. The situation that these young babies are in, and it feels good to help. So get out there and go do it, and the family, so always a good thing. That was pretty cool to listen to this weekend that they hit that. So it was awesome.
Yeah.
Anyhow,
that is so cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So I mean, I've had a failure with resin casting. Okay. And it was, I profited off from it though, because I got a Easy Wood Tools chuck off from it. I mean, I don't know. I mean, if you've ever, casted something and got something back. I mean, I did. So I had my Nova 2 chuck on there, and I had done some punky wood, and I had already casted it in resin, casted the blank in resin, and did a great job. It was good, but this was some pretty torn up wood. It was spalted really bad. It had some water damage, and so I got done and I started turning it. Well, I got the bowl hollowed out. I already had the outside done, put it up on the chuck, and then I had the bowl hollowed out, and I was like, ooh, I got some holes in the actual wood. It's probably just shallow stuff. So what I'm going to do is I'll mix up a batch, and I'll let it cast into it, and I'll just leave it on the chuck, just flip it up sitting up like this. So I'll cast some resin in the bottom of the bowl, and I'll come back in a couple days and turn it back out, and it'll be fine, And I did that, and I came back to a bowl that didn't have any resin in it, but the chuck was completely full. Of resin.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Yeah, I wonder where you're going with that. Oh, damn. So no saving the chuck at that point.
No, yeah. I was literally, I tried, and I just had to order a new chuck because I had to turn the bowl to get the pole out to people, and so I ordered an Easy Wood chuck. And they have phenomenal chucks. I'm here to tell you if you're gonna get a chuck, that's the one I like. No shout out to JP there where he explained that's probably the best chuck you're going to get, and it is. It really is. It's probably the best chuck you're going to get is a Easy Wood Tools chuck. Got the chuck. I had to cut out the bowl bottom of it, flip it over, soft turn it, get a tenon back on it, and turn it. And I did all that and got it turned, and had to cast it a little bit, but didn't cast it with the chuck on it. And then I took, and had to spend a lot of time with some chemicals to try to get the resin out of the chuck. Completely disassembled it, put it back together, and it didn't turn. It worked well enough to do something. And then when a guy came and bought my other lathe, I asked him if he wanted the chuck, and he said yes. I gave him to him for free because I was tired of dealing with it. But yeah. Again, I'm still laughing. JP was there for that one too. So there seems to be a reoccurring theme. That's all I'm going to say here.
Well, Jamie sometimes needs to learn how to turn as well. He's this big pro, right? And Matt is a funny video that they did together as a collaboration. Matt sent him a resin blank, a big one. And it's so funny. It's when I first started to get to know these guys, right? And I'm watching this video and Jamie's turning and all of a sudden this thing just comes apart.
Yeah.
On the lathe while he's turning it.
Smack right in the arm. Yeah.
And then it pans over where Matt's answering the phone in America, because Jamie, of course, is in England, right? Yep. And then you hear him say some words that are bleeded out, and then he throws the cell phone across the shop. It's the funniest thing, right? But it's hilarious. But Jamie's if I hate bragging on him because I don't want him to get a bigger head than he already has.
He's an amazing turner.
He's an amazing turner.
Yeah,
I've learned a lot off of him. I'll tell you that. He's a good turner. But
that was another one. As I sent him a blank that was resin casted, and TSA used it as a football. And I'm talking. It was a 12-inch blank. Okay, and and they used it as a football, and it split in half.
Oh,
yeah,
grief.
So yeah, that's what made me send him a second one. So I was trying to get him to one that actually worked. So, but yeah.
Mustachio, I know you've had some fails there, bud.
Where do we start?
Oh, here we go.
I feel like I have experienced every mistake with epoxy you could do, and I'm sure there's ones in my future that I'll uncover soon. But for everyone that doesn't know, I was making a wedding sign and I ended up gluing it to my workbench. So to back up a little bit, I had never made like a walnut like round sign. So my idea was to get like 12-quarter walnut, and I ended up taking two different pieces. I resawed it through my bandsaw. So I had a thin piece that I would pour. I scrolled all the letters out on my scroll saw, and then I poured epoxy into that. And then I was going to put lights. I had a little cavity inside the round part. And then I was just going to glue the top on, and boom, and a wedding sign. So when I went to glue it up, I'd never like poured that way before. I always had like a form or something. And I was talking to a friend of mine, and she's like, "Oh, if you do it upside down, so you just take like the frog tape. So just take the frog tape, put it on the front, flip it over, and then clamp it all down, and then just pour into that." I'm like, "Really? Like the frog tape? Like it's not gonna want to like get out?" She's like, "No, no." So I ended up doing that. And so I had two separate pieces because I think it was 24 inches in diameter round. So I had two different pieces because I needed to run them both through the planer. My planer is the DeWalt lunchbox 16 inch, I think. 12 inch,
12.
14 inch.
12 or 13.
That
13.
One.
Yeah.
So I was limited with what I could plane, so I had to do it in two separate pieces. So I ended up taking the first piece off. So I poured all the epoxy in. Took the first piece off, no problem. Went to take the second piece off, and no, that did not want to come off whatsoever. I had a pry bar on all the sides, not coming off at all. What ended up working was a flush trim saw, and I just kind of pried it up on one side, just kind of cut along out, flipped it over, and thank God it didn't like mar up any of the epoxy because I could just sand. I was able to sand everything like completely clean. And yeah, that was a really scary moment because, for anyone that doesn't know, I procrastinate, and I got that wedding sign done in 4 days because I started
procrastinate? Oh no.
Damn.
I started that on Tuesday, and on Saturday morning, it was probably still the morning. We had to be at the wedding, and an hour and a half before that, I'm in the shop, like doing the final sand and putting finish on it and everything. And my wife pops out. She's like, "Are you going to shower?" I'm like, "Nope." And I ended up getting it all together, and they loved it. It's hanging in their house. It looks absolutely amazing, but that's how we can kind of, you panic for a minute, but then you gather your thoughts and you say, okay, all right, take a step back, boom, boom, boom. And, we overcome.
Yeah, that, go ahead.
No, go ahead, Joey. You're good.
I think another one, let's see, one that I had is back in a while back, long time ago when I first got a track saw, right? I was making some cabinets for in here, and I did not pay attention as far as the kerf, right? Like where you're placing the track. I just put it down on the line. So everything was cut out, according to measurements. And I was just placing the track down and cutting, right? Not taking, I would make the measurement, but I wasn't paying attention to the orientation of what was my cutoff and what was I keeping.
Okay.
So as I started putting this together, so that you face the track and your blade needs to be on your cutoff so that your dimension is accurate to what you're, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
So I cut
You lose
everything.
an 1/8 of an inch.
I cut everything. And I started to assemble. No, it was different. I started to assemble pieces and everything was off. And I'm like, what the hell's going on here?
Okay, hold on. I gotta ask this because I'm not following for some reason. Did you mark all the layout lines
and then cut to the inside
and then just lay the track saw down on the lines that you had already pre-laid out?
No, like I was cutting measuring. I was measuring pieces, right?
Okay, so you were measuring as you went.
As I went, but I wasn't paying attention to the orientation of the track, where the actual kerf was landing. Okay. Right?
Yep.
So I got through cutting everything, and when I went to go, some pieces were right and some were wrong because the kerf ended up being on what I was keeping. So, I had a lot of stuff cut, and it took me a while. I sat there, and I'm like, what the heck did I do? Why is this so off? Stuff wasn't fitting together. And I'm talking pocket holes drilled. It's ready to go together and it's not fitting.
Oh no.
And I sat there and I'm like, so I, sat down and I'm like thinking, and I looked at that damn tack saw and I'm like, and I looked at that stuff. And then it took me probably about a couple of hours of sitting there just trying to figure out. And then it finally hit me what I did wrong. And I'm like, so, I mean, things like that, that's very costly because now, well, it was for myself, but if it would have been for a client, like a kitchen, that 1/8 of an inch adds up.
Oh yeah.
And if it was wrong, you would have to just go recut everything.
Mm-hmm.
So that was a pretty bad, that was a hard learning deal there to figure out. And now I pay attention what I'm doing.
Yeah, I had, so not dissimilar, but kind of similar to that when you talk about cutting stuff. I got commissioned to build a TV cabinet for a customer. Remember TV cabinets way back in the day when we had small tube TVs where you'd have the doors that you could slide out and then close in front of the TV.
Yeah.
This old lady had bought a TV from a TV store that I worked for back in high school, and they reached out and said, hey, she wants this new TV, but she doesn't want to see it. Can you build her a cabinet? Well, nobody made those cabinets for 50 some odd inch TVs or whatever. So I said, yeah, I can build her a custom cabinet with the sliding doors, bought the sliding hinge hardware, got everything planned out, got the box of it together, hinges installed, everything. And I needed to put the back panel on. So I go over to my trusty rigid table saw with this, I think it was a 1/2 inch sheet of plywood to make the backer. Got the measurements all set up, ran it through the table saw. Oh, this is beautiful. Get the staple gun and the glue, tack it all up there. And I was like, well, I know my cuts are straight, so it's going to square up this cabinet, and it's going to be beautiful. I get it on there, go to walk away to admire my beautiful work. And I noticed the cabinet is doing this. Maybe not that extreme, but it is leaning. And I'm like, is my wall leaning? Is
my wall leaning?
Yeah.
Blame it on the wall.
Yeah, blame it on the wall. So I go and grab the biggest square I have and lay it on there. And this square is 3 foot long. It was from top to bottom. I was off by 4 inches.
Oh, whoa.
Last sheet of 1/2 inch plywood I had. They're expecting me to deliver this the next morning because they're going to take the TV to her the next afternoon. And I go and look at I'm going to go back and look at my measurements, like look at all this stuff. And at this point, like I put my foot through the front of the cabinet to kick the sheet of plywood off because it's glued and I don't want it to get stuck. I go look at my table saw and the handle that clamps down the rail, is pointed up. So what had happened?
Oh no!
As I'm pushing it through and pushing it up against the fence, it is slowly sliding the fence away, and I'm just like, because I also noticed like when I got it on there, it's like, oh, this one side's, it's not lining up perfectly on the bottom. I was like, oh, no big deal. I'll just get a trim router out and I'll trim it up. I'd rather be an inch too long and just knock it down with the trim router than be an inch too short, whatever. Yeah. Quick trip to Home Depot for another sheet of plywood. That was not fun. It wasn't a massive fail, but it's like, seriously, idiot. Like, why didn't you? And we've all done it. Like you're rushing through stuff and you forget to just push down that clamp on the fence. And it's like, God, but I was so excited because this was like, I was early. I'd probably only been doing commission work for a year at this point. So I was so excited to have this job and, using this awesome, cool, hidden door hardware oh, come on. Like, not a massive epic fail, but still a like, come on, get your head out of it type fail.
Yeah.
I've done that before, but it was a little different. I have a big table in the middle of my shop, and I have tools on both sides. And I just, put all the tools in there, and I was laying stuff out and cutting it all out, and I'd set it up, and I'm like, why is that 3/4 of an inch off? 3/4 of it. I mean, it's 3/4 every single time. It's 3/4 of an inch off. It doesn't make any sense to me. And I did a post on it on Instagram where I laid out 4 different tape measures, and 4 different tape measures had 4 different measurements. And one was off by 3/4 of an inch from the first one. The one that I was using to the one that I had was off by 3/4 of an inch, and they were on opposite sides of the shop. So when I made a measurement on this side, I make my mark, set my tape measure down, go to the other side, grab my tape measure, put it down.
Perfect.
And I literally got rid of all the tape measures in my shop, bought all the same tape measures, pulled them all out, made sure they all measured the same thing from there on out.
Don't be buying those Harbor Freight tape measures.
It was horrible. It was horrible.
Yeah, and how about the one where you measure, or you're measuring upside down?
Oh, I've done that.
And you measure short. I mean, come on, y'all.
See, that is why I love fast cap tape measures that are double sided.
Right.
So you never run into that, and that's why I only use fast cap.
I finally changed over to them, but I still have some Milwaukees because I like Milwaukees because I can get that big print. Because I wear eyeglasses and it's harder, and I'm old. I'm an old fart, and it's hard to see some of that, especially when you're starting getting down to the small little marks, right? And man, you don't know how many times I've done that crap. Is just sitting there and you go and you cut and you're like, what? What did I do?
Yeah.
What? And you go back. I mean, it's just, and I still do it till this day. And I've learned, stop doing that, idiot. Stop doing that, because every time you do, you mess up, especially if you're cutting big sheet plywood.
Yeah. One tape measure for the entire project.
Well, what I've done, and I just changed up a little bit, and every time I bring a tape measure in, I've always started comparing them to the ones I already have in here. It's just a thing I started doing, but I'm only using my tape measure now for rough cut.
Yeah,
that's it.
Using a ruler.
I'm using a ruler for everything else. Everything.
Yeah.
Everything. And I use a ruler. I use my T-square, or I use something that is a fixed measurement all the time. It's not rolling up. It's not hitting against the jamb as it's coming in and messing up those measurements. I'm only using them for rough cut now. So usually it's over by my chop saw or miter saw station right there. So I'm measuring out, cutting it down to rough length, and then getting to final length later on.
Now you want to talk about failures with measurements.
Mm-hmm.
I have, and JP will like this. I have started using more metric in my shop.
Nah, get out of here. Get out of here with that.
So hear me out. Hear me out. With all the 3D printing I do, the CNC, the laser, a lot of those softwares are default.
To metric. Mm-hmm.
And the precision is just, for me anyway. So the way my brain works, even numbers are so much more precise than 7 and 1/64 or whatever. It is so much easier to throw, go millimeters. But I've made the mistake of, measuring everything in standard or in imperial, going over to my CNC software, putting it in there, and it's like, and I spent an hour one day troubleshooting my CNC because it kept giving me a x-axis or y-axis error saying you're over your distance. I'm like, what the heck is going on? And I had made sure, measured it in metric. Well, the software had done an update and reset it as imperial. So I'm putting 353 millimeters in there, and it's like 353 inches. Here you go. And the CNC's going, bro, I've only got a 48-inch capacity. What are you trying to do to me? And I finally just I happened to look at the where it gives you like the automation, what it's supposed to look like, whatever, the simulation. And I noticed that the red dot for your 0 is like over here, and the print's way over here, and I'm going, that's weird. So I go back to look at the measurements in it. I'm like, 300 and some. Oh yeah, okay. So I just keep up, make sure, like, if I'm using inches, using imperial, make sure everything's imperial. If I'm using metric, it's in metric. And I'm like, God. But yeah, I'm sitting there doing stupid 150 piece of crap machines, and because I had just done a firmware update. And so I'm blaming everything on this firmware update, and it's 11 o'clock at night. So of course I'm not going to get in touch with Onefinity at 11 o'clock at night. I'm like, they bugged up this firmware. I'm like, no, it's an ID10T error. Sorry.
Yeah, CNC's the worst to have a screw up as far as that goes.
Yeah,
because that's when you just see like a bit just do a nosedive into the material.
I was just fixing to say that,
and it's like,
oh, that was
you
bad
automatically noise. Like piece of crap machine software, and then you go in there and you look and you're like, oh,
I did that.
The machine's only as smart as the man behind the curtain, my friend.
Exactly. Yep. I've had that, like a surfacing bit, just everything looked good, and then all of a sudden, just at the hit of go, that thing went boop boop and wow, and it installed itself, and I'm like, whoa, what the hell?
Did you see that?
Oh my God.
What I blinked at the wrong time.
That was Joey.
That is we got to give Jamie credit for those, because Jamie will catch you in the most awkward moments, and he's so quick with screenshotting that he'll make a meme of you. Like that. You got to be very careful when you're around that man, because the next thing you know, when he goes quiet and you see his head down,
he got you.
He got you. He got somebody.
He been got.
He got somebody. And next thing,
oh my God.
Oh, that is awesome. My fault again. God. I've ruined a few very expensive CNC bits. Oddly enough, never due to measurements. It's all because I didn't tighten the collet down tight enough.
Really?
So I found out the hard way that with the Cadence manufacturing bits, you have to clean them.
Oh yeah,
because the coating that he puts on them that makes it so great. Clean the end of it, because it will vibrate itself. No matter how tight you crank that collet down, it will vibrate itself loose. And I had one drop, and those bits will cut through anything, but they will not cut through a steel screw. It will shear the end of that bit off. And so I have 2 screws in my wasteboard that the only way I'm getting them out is chiseling around it and pair of vice strips out, because it took the head of the screw off and ruined a beautiful downtown Jenny bit, or the original Jenny bit. Yeah. In the middle of a project.
Not yet. Don't give him any ideas.
Oh, why did you bring that up?
I constantly, when I'm not thinking, that's what happens. Is I start humming,
which is all the time.
Shush.
But
I've actually watched Mr. Joey over there hand control his CNC to flatten, because he didn't want to put the program in. Got to a corner and went to hit the button to bring it back down, and hit the Z-axis instead, and plunged that bit on a set of.
Why do you have to bring things like that up? Why? Nobody needs to know that.
Because it was going. Yeah, I was thinking about the backsplash and how good it looked, and the countertop, and if you look up underneath it, there's a big old hole.
You know how bad I want. You're number one right now. I just can't show it on camera. I just want you to know that.
Yeah,
he suckered me into that one.
Oh,
He
yeah.
did. Yeah, he did. Yeah, I was
Oh.
being lazy that day, and I didn't want to go in and program it, so I was like, I'll just control it with the Xbox game
He's
controller.
talking me through it too. He's talking me all through it. How he's doing
And
it.
just
I'm like, really?
I was
Really?
going back and forth, man. Yeah. And on the last one, fixing to come back down, we were BSing back and forth, and I hit my fat fingered it, and it went right down into it. I'm like,
Sounded so weird over the phone. I'm here to tell you.
What flattening bit were you using?
It was I don't know what was on there, to be honest. I don't know
Like
what
1
it was.
inch or 1 or 2.
Oh
Just
no,
a
no,
big
it was bigger than that.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's like 1.5 inches or something like that. Yeah.
No, it was probably like a 2.5, something. It's pretty good size.
Yeah,
So
I've done that.
what I ended up
2.5
having to
inch,
do,
yeah.
I was sitting there and I'm like, what am I gonna do now? So luckily there's two sides, right? I flipped it over and did the other side. That mark, I was making that for an island in this apartment. That mark, you can go underneath there and feel it. It's on the bottom side. You can still feel it. It was a massive. That thing is huge. I was not redoing that again. Like, thank God it's for me. But you can feel that little divot. You could sit there and finger that thing. I mean, you could touch it. You know. Sorry, didn't mean to do that, but that came out.
You're not getting any better. You're not getting any better.
I'll just shut up.
Anyway,
see what you caused, Matt. You're gonna have to bleep that out.
Yeah, I am. But anyway, so yeah, no, I'm on the phone with him talking about it. We're just talking back and forth because we were actually talking about buying my CNC, and all of a sudden he's like, "Yep, I'm making the final plan," and it just made this god awful noise. The spindle stopped spinning, the whole 9 yards, and it just cut itself off. And he went, "Oh my god!" I heard the phone slam down. He's running over, touching controllers.
And of course, there's some few words, not so good words thrown in there.
He was an angel. He was an angel. Yes, he was.
I wouldn't expect anything less out of him.
Yeah.
Had some bad ones. How about y'all? Why is this all about me?
Hey, I've given a couple good ones.
Hey, I got the short stick last week, so come on.
So okay,
we still need to hear about.
I'll tell you the worst one. Worst one ever. I am 15 years old. I watch New Yankee Workshop every single Saturday. I'm in the mood for that thing. And somebody says, "Hey, think you can build speaker boxes?" Sure. I design them, figure out the cubic space. I can do all the math on that stuff. That was no problem. Design them, we got them cut. And we're doing the last bit of it. We already had, the CRX that we did, we had it in there. It was easy. But I'm doing one that we took an S10 and connected a sleeper cab to it. They bonded it all in back when they had low riders. This is in 91. Yeah, I think in 91. And I'm building a box that's basically, it shows up as a diamond. And so you had MTX terminators going all the way down through it and stuff. And I'm cutting it all, and we're making long rip cuts. And I don't know what I was thinking, but I was letting them push, and I was, accepting the thing. They cut the saw off, and I'm sitting there just staring at the saw. I was just staring at it. I couldn't stop it. And I licked my finger and stuck my finger in the saw blade.
What?
I have no idea what was going on.
It was going to shock you.
I am a smart man.
Yeah.
Literally, it's got a no. This is before Saw though. This is a Craftsman, and literally, I mean, it ripped me open, and we ended up super gluing it back together. And kept going, but yeah, that was probably the dumbest thing I think I've ever done in a shop. Is stuck my finger in a moving saw blade.
I will add to
first though. You licked it.
I've got to stuck my finger in a moving saw blade story too. Years ago, I had this just absolute. Well, if Ryobi's listening, wonderful, glorious Ryobi bandsaw. Man, no, it's a piece of junk. Ryobi bandsaw.
Of course. It's
And
got Ryobi on it.
yeah. I mean, hey, Ryobi makes some decent
Paperweights.
lawn
I
equipment.
understand. Yeah.
It's better than the heart tools that I have in my RV. I'll say that much.
There we go.
My wife loves mooses or mises or whatever they are.
Mini much
Moosin.
Mini much
moosins. And so for her birthday this one year, I found this file for a this is before I had lasers and CNC. It was like a skeletonized moose head mount. And I took the time to trace it out on plywood, and I'm cutting it out. And so didn't have a jigsaw. My mind went blank. That's common occurrence, apparently.
Moves up and down.
Yeah. So I'm cutting it out on this bandsaw, and I've been using a bandsaw since I was 10 years old. My dad always had one in the shop. I'm very good at using a bandsaw. Feel very comfortable with it. And I'm right hand dominant, and I'm supporting this cut because there's a piece of wood on the back side of the saw blade. I'm like, oh, that's going to get in my way. I need to remove it. So I reach over with my left hand, and I'm going to take my pinky and flick it away. Well, for some reason, I didn't go behind the blade. I went straight at the blade.
Oh, no.
It'll go straight through it.
Yeah, it will. My then 8-year-old son, I think he was 8 at the time, 8 or 9. He's 15 now. He sees this all go down. And, you have that knee-jerk reaction of, no, this did not just happen. I did not do that. And I'm holding my hand, and I'm like, oh, it's just going to be a scratch. I didn't really do this that bad. And I opened my hand and just heard splash.
All the blood.
And I go, grab me a towel now. And he throws me this towel over. And I cut down the very tip of my pinky. I cut down and cut a groove into the bone of my pinky finger. I go grab my phone, call your stepmother. My wife is a veterinary technician. So I call her up. I go, hey, I just cut the end of my finger. She hears, I just cut my finger off. So she starts freaking out. I have to calm her down. And all this time, I guess apparently I'm already going into slight shock in the whole thing. So I'm slurring my words. I call my best friend, who's also my gym trainer and workout buddy. I call him and go, bro, where are you at? I'm at the gym. Okay, I need you to come get me and take me to either the ER or the clinic. I just cut the end of my finger open. I need stitches. So long story short, I get to he takes me to the vet clinic. And they glue my finger back together. And lesson learned, don't stick your finger in a bandsaw blade because those things are used to cut meat in butcher shops.
Yeah. That's like the second worst. Yeah.
I don't know.
Everybody wants to start flipping us off. What's going on here, guys? What's going on?
No, like
mine won't focus.
The tip. So I cut the tip of my ring finger off.
Just the tip?
Yeah.
Through.
Yeah.
Just the
I
tip.
basically went like that, like into it. So I was in shop class, and what was that? 7th, 8th grade, like early 90s, and just like, oh, look at this cool bandsaw, ooh wee, and our shop teacher, our shop teacher's all over the place, like trying to watch this student and everything. And I'm just on there. I get a piece of wood, and I'm just like, zing, zing, pushing it through the bandsaw, just like, oh, it's making a cool sound. I have zero like woodworking like knowledge at this point. I'm just like, that's cool. And that blade went right through my ring finger, and I went, uh-oh. And my mom was a teacher. My mom was a music teacher at school, and I go to the shop teacher. I was like, I just cut my finger. And he's like, show me. And they showed it. He's like, go to the nurse. So I go to the nurse. The nurse has to go and pull my mom who's doing like a rehearsal for all this Christmas concert or something. And my mom's gonna like bring me to the ER and everything. And oh gosh, I might have gotten stitches, but like the nail grows weird, like everything's weird with that fingertip.
Yeah, mine's still to this day. If I tap
That
it on
explains a
something,
lot.
it makes me want to cry. Yeah. So
So
give a.
we're gonna pause real quick. Keep that in mind, though. We're gonna pause because we need to do a giveaway real quick. And so everybody in the chat, I'm going to share my screen, and whatever's on there, you're gonna put that in the chat. Now I'm gonna let you know that this is only open for U.S. residents. Sorry, we can't ship across overseas. So this is only for the U.S. Sorry, JP. Sorry, Jason. But we can't do it for y'all. Let me share my screen real quick. Let me hit start collecting. And I should have had this on here, but it messed up. So you're going to type in hashtag CMP in the chat. Hashtag CMP in the chat. And the giveaway is for 20 of these inserts. And your choice of Milwaukee battery holder, a DeWalt battery holder, or a Traxall track holder for Makita and Festool. So you'll get 20 of these and one of the other. And if you have neither, then I will up these to 30 of them. And these are just organizational things. You go ahead and you stick your router bit in there, and you can put bunch of these in your drawer so you can store your router bits. And this is good for 1/4 inch and 1/2 inch. So hashtag CMP.
Give it a couple of minutes here and make sure everybody gets their hashtags in.
So go ahead, Byron, tell us your story. So we will, while they're doing that in there, give everybody time.
I got to unmute. Sorry.
The clock. I'll do it.
Can you hear me?
3 minutes.
Yep.
Going on?
Yep.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay. Something sounded weird. Hang on. So this is not.
We hear you fine.
Yep. Come on.
Sorry, my headphones just died. This is not my story. This didn't happen to me. It happened to a buddy of mine. I used to install DirecTV and home entertainment eons ago. And one of the guys that I worked with and another guy had gone out on a DirecTV install. And y'all know what vinyl siding is, right?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay. Have you ever drilled out through vinyl siding?
No, you want to drill in.
Yeah. Intelligence, common sense. Yeah. So they're drilling out. One of the guys is drilling out through this vinyl siding in his trailer house. And the other guy on the crew notices, oh, it's pushing the siding away from the house. Let me put my hand on this to stop it. And it drilled right through the meat of his hand.
Oh.
Yep. Now, luckily, it was like a 1/4 inch or maybe a half. It might have been a 1/2 inch drill bit. It's big enough for a piece of coax to go through the hole.
Yeah.
And because when he's telling the story, he's like, all I heard was screaming. And they had the window open in the room so they could communicate. And he stops drilling, leans out, and he goes, what's the matter? What are you screaming about? And he goes, you drilled through my hand. And he's screaming. He goes, well, hold on a second. Let me pull the drill out. He goes, no. In reverse and back the drill out.
Oh my goodness.
He goes, no. Just take the chuck out. Just unchuck it, and I'll pull my hand out. How in the world it didn't hit a tendon, or it literally, because there's just right there in that part of your hand, it happened to just pass through everything.
Wow.
And it was one of those like lesson stories, like when you're messing with this kind of siding, and when he tells it, one of the other guys that we worked with is like, why were you drilling out? You drill in on vinyl site. Never drill out.
Uh-huh.
Okay, whatever. And it's just, yeah. And to this day, like, and my dad's got one. My dad watched a guy run his hand through an industrial sewing machine at a upholstery shop because he was pleating a headliner. And that's all this guy did was his job was to run pleats on headliners. So he did it all day long, and he's talking and happens to look away, and they all heard the machine bog down. And he pulled his hand back, and he's like, well, I guess I don't need stitches, but I probably need to go to the emergency room.
Wow.
Yeah. That was one my dad taught me when he was telling me how to teach me how to sew with a sewing machine. It's like, this is what you don't do. You look at your sewing machine when you're using it. Right. Here I'm like a 10-year-old kid going, okay.
Let's go ahead and do this giveaway. Everybody in. We're going to go. Here we go.
Here we go. Don, what
there we go. There.
Heck yeah.
Hot dog. Congrats, Don.
Congratulations, Don. Winner, chicken dinner.
So I'm talking about.
All right. Stop sharing. Don, just send me your address and tell me what you would like. And send me your address and info to my Instagram at Joey Steelblade. And I'll get it out to you, bud.
Nice.
Thank you for hanging out. Congratulations.
So before we go, I got one story before we go. I was 17 years old, working for a fire restoration company, and just had tennis shoes on in there. No reason to wear boots, and and
safety third.
I shoved my foot right down on a 16-penny screw shank nail. Went straight up through my foot.
Oh,
yeah. So in my intelligence of being a 17-year-old, young dumb guy, I went ahead and took my other foot to slam down on the board to pull my foot up, and stepped on another 16-penny nail.
Shut up!
Oh my god!
Well, here I am. This is like my second week on the job. So
it's
here
like
I
Ace
am.
Ventura with the spears in his legs. It's like, oh!
So here I am. They come around the corner because I'm yelling for people, and I'm laying on my back, and I have a board attached to both of my feet. And he's like, "What would you do that for?" I was, "Are you serious?" And so they had to take a hammer and pull them out of the bottom of my feet. And so they yanked them out of the bottom of my feet. We wrapped my feet up with duct tape, and I finished working the rest of the day. And then I went and got a tetanus shot. Yep.
So I'll throw a quick construction, fail or not fail, but similar to yours. In high school, I was a freshman, junior, or sophomore in high school. My mom's fiance was opening a store in one of the big malls out here. We had gutted the store, pulled the cash wrap out. Well, when we pulled the cash wrap out, we made sure to kill the power to it, but the wires were still hanging out. Fast forward, electrician comes in, puts on the lighting, and instead of just turning on the breakers for the lighting, he turned on every breaker in the breaker box, which then turned this cash wrap to 110 plugs back on. I'm there alone that day painting. So I'm pulling a ladder, a 12-foot aluminum ladder around, and I notice, these Romex cords are hanging out. Let me kick them out of my way. As I kicked them, they wrapped around my leg. I'm getting lit up with two 110. And all I could do, and I locked up. Luckily, I was able to get this ladder to fall, and it pulled me away.
Man.
My left leg didn't work right for a month. It hurt so bad.
Wow.
Yeah, that was one of the first things that led to my fear of electricity and why I don't jack with stuff like that anymore. Electricians are a wonderful friend to have.
Yeah.
Oh, very. Yeah, because I was there alone.
110 will grab a hold of you. Anything bigger will kick you out, but 110 will grab a hold of you.
I've been popped by 220, and it just kicks you away. 110, it'll kill you.
Yeah.
If you're not careful.
Wow.
It does. Your muscles lock down, and you can't get loose.
Nope.
So, yeah.
Well, all righty. BJ, thanks for hanging out with us. We appreciate you coming in.
Anytime.
Always a pleasure. Hopefully we get you back in here and have some discussions like this some more.
Hell yeah. Anytime, guys.
But thanks everybody for hanging out. Congratulations, Don. Next week on the podcast, we got Colton Crit is going to be a guest. So come hang out next Sunday, same time, same place, same beautiful faces. And remember to go over there to iTunes, give us a review. I want 10. I mean 10 stars.
10.
Do it twice.
If you feel like it, head on over to patreon.com/Creative Makers Podcast. We're going to have some cool things coming up. So you want to get signed up and support us. And there's going to be some cool things coming with that as well. Go check it out. And till next time, we will see y'all next week. Bye-bye. Have a good Sunday evening. Later.